McLean County rejects a plan to ban funding for migrants. Bloomington's mayor cheers the move.
We're simply going to try as a community to be as welcoming as possible.
That's coming up on WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm Lauren Warnicki. Also on today's show, we pay tribute to a longtime public servant lost last week, Judge Bill Caisley.
If we had more Bill Caisleys in this world, we'd be in much better shape.
And we welcome a new leader for a Bloomington nonprofit that's on the verge of a major milestone.
We will, fingers crossed, reach our 200th home this year in 2024.
That's coming up after a Bloomington Normal news update. This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.
Support for WGLT comes from Bloomington Normal Audiology. Hear My Story continues with local patient Paul Brandt.
So I just went without them for all those years. I talked to somebody who had recently gotten hearing aids and talked about the fact that they were connected to the TV. And so that kind of prompted me to try it again.
Paul's full story can be found at bnaudiology.com.
Campus of Illinois State University in Normal, this is WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. I'm Lauren Warnicki, sitting in for John Norton. The mayor of Bloomington says the prospect of migrant arrivals in McLean County is an opportunity, not something to be rejected. The County Emergency Management Agency has been told to coordinate getting any migrants who arrive in the county to Chicago. In this interview with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Mayor Mboka Mulambwe says it might not be that simple. Chicago might not be able to take them right away.
It's a very complicated situation. We don't really know exactly how many people, would end up here. Is it a busload? Is it 2? Is it 3? Are they actually coming here? We actually already have some that, kind of trickled into the community. So we're just going to do the best that we can. The one thing that's been good about those conversations when we started hearing that was a possibility is that we've had a chance to kind of talk about the what ifs, who would do what, but without necessarily having a ton of specifics, about location. What do we have as, city services that we could use to help people? There could be health issues, safety, but also children. How do you?
So how can the city contribute? What sort of services would the city contribute to the overall mix of human service agencies and governmental bodies?
Yeah, so I think, one of the things that we've talked about, for example, and I don't want this to sound like it's, it's a small thing, but, we have services like the zoo, for example. We have other entertainment, but also, could look into possible locations, where we could house people temporarily, but also, trying to connect people with different services for, folks like Immigration Project, because we know where those people are and work with those folks. In other cases, it could be working with groups such as the Salvation Army, for example.
How would the city work with the Salvation Army, for instance?
There's always a possibility of, vouchers, for, hotel rooms. Of course, it can be a pretty expensive proposition. But if it's for a couple of days or something like that, like a temporary stay for people until they figure out, where else they could go. I think PATH has done that also in the past. So those are things that we can connect people to those kinds of services.
What else is the city saying, hey, we've raised our hand, we'll be part of this if and when?
I don't think there is anything too specific at the moment. We simply have offered to be there if something were to happen, if we have people who come there, because it is very difficult to be able to plan and to try to figure out how many people are we getting, what exactly is the need. Is the need transportation from one place to the next? Is the need housing? Is the need food? Is it healthcare? One thing that's also a possibility, we do have the mobile care unit, the partnership that we've created with Carl. That is also another possibility there.
What do you make of the recent initiative by County Board member Chuck Erickson to ban expenditure of county money on migrants?
Yeah, everybody has seen what's happening in Chicago. So anytime you have limited resources and people are called upon to use those resources, that can create a little bit of conflict. So I'm glad that the discussion was had. At the end of the day, I think the message as laid out by the vote is a good message, is that we're simply going to try as a community to be as welcoming as possible, because those folks, when they show up, they are people's mothers, sons, daughters, and I think all of us migrated here at one point or another, and I think we would have liked to have the opportunity to, or at least for someone to extend their hand and to help us. When there are issues in the community, I tend to want to look at it from the standpoint of opportunity. We have issues with workforce. That could be an opportunity for us to look into and to send a message that, yes, we'll welcome people and we'll work with them.
This is Sound Ideas. I'm Charlie Schlenker. We're talking with Bloomington Mayor Mboka Mulambwe. Well, we're in a new year. Looking back on 2023, what do you think are the major accomplishments of the city?
Wow, there's too many to talk about, but there are a couple that always come to mind. The library, the renovation of the library. Every time I drive by there, I feel pretty good, and pretty proud when you're able to renovate buildings and offer something good, then it draws attention. The west side of the library was done, and then we're looking to finish up the east side of the library, which is great. Other thing as well is O'Neill Park, and despite all the challenges that we have with supply chain and everything, things are behind in terms of the initial schedule, but we're still getting there. And it was nice for me to see people on social media excited about the skate park being open, and the pool itself, the aquatic center, it should be open in time for Memorial Day. Other things is that, we've continued to invest, heavily in street resurfacing, a lot more than we have in the past. I remember when I was, when I started as an alderman, it wasn't quite as much. And now, we're looking to do that consistently, $10 million or plus, as much as possible. And one of the things that I would mention is the arena, coming back online, and where we're having quite a few events there. So the lights have gone back on after COVID. We just kind of changed the model a little bit, and then going internally, and I think it's worked out pretty well. So I kind of look forward to what's going to happen in the future.
And in 2024, what do you think the signpost accomplishments will be?
Taking those couple of projects, Library O'Neill, to the finish line, and that will be exciting to just kind of bring people in, and I'm hoping that we can even bring people who in the past former aldermen and mayors who have been part of the conversations over the years there. The downtown streetscape I think is also one. I could have mentioned that as an accomplishment, just to kind of get that whole project going, because that's not always it's not always easy.
You'll be making some decisions, though.
Yes, we'll be making some.
Yes, this year.
Yes, we will be making some decisions, in terms of how to fund and that kind of thing. I am thinking also, we will certainly kickstart, water system improvement. It's a pretty big lift, but one that is very important for the community.
That's Bloomington Mayor Mboka Mulambwe. He spoke with Charlie Schlenker.
We'll look at how a Supreme Court case that started with New Jersey fishermen could have broader effects on the power of federal agencies. That's on the next Morning Edition from NPR News.
I'm WGLT Morning Edition host Ariel Jones. Wake up with Morning Edition tomorrow morning on 89.1 WGLT.
This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org. I'm Lauren Warnicki. Bill Caisley served Central Illinois as a judge and later as a McLean County Board member. He is being remembered as a dedicated and principled public servant. Caisley died Friday at age 84. WGLT's Eric Stock offers this remembrance.
At one time, Bill Caisley of Normal was the youngest judge in Illinois. And when he retired, he was among the longest-serving members of the judiciary.
Judge Caisley was Judge Caisley to some, was William T. Caisley to others, but to most he was Bill.
That's Dan Brady, the longtime former Republican state lawmaker from Bloomington Normal.
If we had more Bill Caisleys in this world, we'd be in much better shape.
Brady says Caisley was known for his colorful ways of doing things, from his love of colorful flowers and gardening to his blue court robes. He regularly wore flamboyant slacks or coats. At Christmas, there were bright embroidered items with the trees or candy canes or holly, depending on his mood. Brady notes Bill Caisley and his wife Mary were also political powers within the Republican Party in Bloomington Normal, and getting their endorsement was a must to win.
When you had a stamp of approval or endorsement or the Caisley name behind your candidacy or being in office, that was a golden seal.
Caisley spent decades as an attorney and then a judge in Central Illinois. One of his most famous cases was a labor dispute involving Town of Normal firefighters in 1978. It became the longest firefighter strike in history. Caisley sent the firefighters to jail for 6 weeks in a case that brought national attention to the town. Caisley recalled that case in this 2023 interview.
So I revoked their probation, and I sentenced them to 42 days in the county jail. And, oh my goodness, there was weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Retired Judge Elizabeth Robb served with Caisley on the bench in McLean County for over a decade. Long before Robb became Chief Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit, she had multiple cases in Caisley's courtroom as a divorce attorney. Robb recalls Caisley was always conscientious and polite and had a greater supply of patience than most judges have.
I do not remember a time, either as a lawyer in front of him or as a judge, where I saw him lose his temper.
Robb recalled a chaotic scene in which a murder defendant threw a chair in the courtroom, striking his attorney, then punched Caisley in the face. The defendant wanted a new judge to hear his case. Caisley decided the incident would not prejudice him in determining the defendant's fate. An appellate court later upheld Caisley's decision and noted he handled the matter with grace. Robb also notes Caisley's mastery of obscure law that pertained to rare cases involving things like sanitary districts, drainage districts, and mosquito abatement districts.
He knew all of the intricacies of the law in that area and, how those things were handled. He was one of the few judges, I think, that really understood all of that.
Caisley served on judicial education panels and professional development groups long after his retirement from the bench. Former Governor Bruce Rauner appointed Caisley to a judicial review board. And after Caisley left the bench, he served on the McLean County Board for 14 years. He did not seek a re-election in 2020. In an exit interview with WGLT in 2020, Caisley joked that he first ran for county board so he wouldn't keep getting called back to the bench in retirement.
I thoroughly enjoyed my experience, my career as a judge, and I knew that I could not tell them no. So I decided that there would be a good reason why I would have to tell them no.
And Caisley's long career as a judge served him well for his time on the county board. That's according to Terry Lindbergh, who served in McLean County administration during Caisley's time on the county board.
He had the gift of a logical, legal mind, and also a great deal of knowledge of the history of McLean County government.
And Lindbergh says he recalled seeing Caisley just last week at a Young Men's Club event and noted he appeared to be in good health.
He seemed to be doing fine. I was very shocked and surprised to hear of his passing.
George Gordon served on the county board with Bill Caisley during each of the retired judges' 4 terms. Gordon, a Democrat, refers to Caisley as principled and consistent, but says the two could still work together on some issues despite their political differences.
You could always depend on what he said being what he meant.
Gordon says Caisley's sense of humor, often demonstrated by his colorful attire, helped the two maintain a congenial working relationship.
While we had our disagreements, most of the time we weren't. Neither one of us was disagreeable about it.
And as former legislator Dan Brady notes, the entire Caisley family has been publicly minded. Wife Mary Caisley served a lengthy tenure as Normal Township supervisor. Their son Tom became mayor of Danvers. With reporting from Charlie Schlenker, I'm Eric Stock.
Bill Caisley's funeral is Saturday at 1:30 at First United Methodist Church in Normal. Burial will follow at 4 at Evergreen Cemetery in Morris. Stories and conversations from Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County. This is Sound Ideas. Habitat for Humanity of McLean County has a new executive director, Jolene Aldis. She assumed the position in September and is bringing the nonprofit into the new year. WGLT's Melissa Ellen spoke to Aldis about plans for 2024 and her recent appointment.
I am new to the role, and prior to my executive director role, I spent about a year as the development director, and I really spent that time, which really wasn't that long ago. So I spent that first year really learning the organization, learning the operation, building relationships with our volunteers, our staff, and our supporters. So I spent that first 12 months doing that. So in this role, I'm just kind of doing more of the same. I'm doing a deeper dive, and my immediate goals are to really educate myself a little bit more. It's a very multi-layered organization and operation, so I'm focusing on education for myself so that I can continue to educate and be a good leader to our team, because without them, we can't do what we do.
What does Habitat for Humanity provide for the local community?
Ultimately, we build houses for families, for low-income families or families in need, in short.
With that in mind, coming off of 2023, what would you say were some of the organization's biggest accomplishments?
There's a lot to celebrate from 2023. Like I said, I spent some time in the development role and then transitioned to the executive director role. And throughout that entire time in 2023, we reached some pretty big milestones. Our Women Build chapter celebrated its 20th year, which is its 20th home that it has been able to build for a family, for a local family. So that was a big accomplishment. We also broke ground on our very first duplex, our multifamily unit. So we were able to serve more families at one time with a lot that we had large enough to do so. So that was a big accomplishment, as well as our first fully accessible ranch home that we were able to build this year. And we had our first fully sponsored healthcare house, which was sponsored by Carl Broman. So a lot to celebrate.
Where can people look to see Habitat for Humanity's impact?
If you're looking to see where the houses are that we build, they are anywhere in McLean County. We do have, you can go to our website and you can see the nearly 200 homes that we have built over the past almost 40 years now. But specifically, the majority of where you can see our homes are on the west side of Bloomington. We do have a handful in Normal. We have a couple out in rural areas like Leroy. But primarily the west side of Bloomington is where you can see where our houses are built. Another impact that's sort of an indirect impact is at our Restore on Washington. So the Restore, if you're not familiar with it, is a retail store that resells donated household items and construction items from residential and or commercial donors. So you can go there. It's a giant warehouse. Some have said, with no disrespect, it's just a giant garage sale. So those, you can see the impact made there because the proceeds from the Restore actually help us build the homes that we build. But it's also serving a community that otherwise might not have opportunity to buy certain household items. So we sell them at a deep discount.
How many houses would you say, and it probably varies by year, but on average, that Habitat for Humanity is building?
So we will, fingers crossed, reach our 200th home this year in 2024. We are slated to build number 1, 98, 99, and 200. And being around for almost 40 years, we celebrate 40th next year. So that averages out to be about 5 per year, let's say, and that's pretty good. So this year we did build 5. Next year we really only have the means to build 3. So we're not heading in the right direction, and that's the kind of the support we need, is to be able to get back up to that average of 5.
And I think that brings us nicely to the next question I had, which is heading into 2024, what is on the docket, expanding on those goals other than the 3 homes?
Yeah, so we have, like I said, we're launching our 200 for 200 campaign. So we're seeking to raise around $200,000 so that we can complete that 200th home. And then we're going to roll into our 40th year. And I'm not sure what that will bring, but my goal as the executive director is really just to focus on the quality of the home. These are very well-built homes, but the quality of service we're providing the families, the experience that they're receiving, the quality of leadership I can provide the staff and the volunteers and any of the supporters. So I'll focus on quality versus quantity, let's say, but I would ultimately like to at least build 1 more home than we did the previous year. So we'll just kind of start small and walk before we run.
And you mentioned donations. Are there any other ways that people in the community can get involved?
If you can't or don't have the means to do a monetary support, there's a lot of other creative ways to give, which you could also find on our website. But I mean, like shopping at Kroger or shopping at Walmart, there's some programs there that allow you to kind of round up your change or give back in that way. The Restore is a main one. So if you don't have the ability to help financially, you can at least donate your items to the Restore, because we resell those, and those proceeds go back into our housing initiatives.
And then was there anything I did not ask about that you wanted to add that people should know about?
No, I would be remiss to say, if I didn't say or mention, that without lots and land, we can't build on, we need the lots and land to build on. So without that, we can't do what we do. And we get much of our land donated by estate planning or estate gifts or planned giving, also in partnership with the city and the town for infill. So we have a lot of good resources in that regard. But I just want to make mention that, with that, we're actually able to produce tax revenue for the city and the town, which is good because that helps them put that money back into their housing initiatives locally. So the impact, all that to say, is the impact goes beyond the families we serve. We're actually helping build a more prosperous community.
That was McLean County's Habitat for Humanity Executive Director Jolene Aldis speaking with WGLT's Melissa Ellen. More ways to help Habitat for Humanity are on their website. Aldis says there are also updates coming soon to the Restore, including new floors and new products. Thanks for choosing WGLT's Sound Ideas today, made possible in part by Bloomington Normal Audiology. I'm Lauren Warnicki, in for John Norton. Story help today came from WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Eric Stock, and Melissa Ellen. Ryan Toohey edits the show. This is 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.